All right, everyone, here we are, the final episode. This is when Alan Howe decides he's been dreaming and comes out of the shower, right? Like they did in Dallas, right?
Oh,
This
yeah.
is the final episode, and here we are. So I'm Marshall Atkinson.
I'm Alan Howe.
And we've got Richard and Brian with us today. And so we've had a number of guests and a number of people on, and we picked Brian and Richard to represent everybody who's been on the show over the past 5 years or whatever. So thanks, guys, for hanging out with us today for a little bit.
This is the final live show. You're still going to do shows.
And we'll talk about that later on. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, correct.
So, Brian, you missed
put
it.
People in a panic.
You missed it when we said, thank you for representing everybody. Richard got that's a toss, Brian. You missed it. You're supposed to speak then. So.
Yeah. Your microphone still works, Brian, right?
Yes.
Just checking. All right. So anyway, we're very happy that you guys joined us today. And if you're watching later, thanks for tuning in. So today we're really going to celebrate our show. And I thought maybe a good place to start, Alan, is, in case people don't know, is the story of how the show originated, right? Let's just start with that, because way back when I had a crazy idea and I go, "Hey, Alan," right? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
What did I say, Alan? Hey, Alan.
So here's my version of it. He calls me and he goes, I have an idea for a seminar for impressions. He goes, and I want you to be part of it. I said, okay, what is it? He goes, we've talked, the best thing about speaking, Rich, you can attest to this, is not the seminar. It's the conversations afterwards, the questions and the things after the booth and stuff. And Marshall goes, let's have a no seminar. And I'm like, I don't understand what that means.
I go, it's Seinfeld.
He goes, I knew that, but I said, I don't get that. And he goes, we go up there. He goes, that we have nothing planned. People come in, they get to ask us whatever they want, and we answer them and discuss with them.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
no slides, no notes. We're working without a net. What do you think?
And what do I think? And I said, and so Marshall and I've gotten real close. I knew him. He was a colleague. I was honored. And I'm like, all right, here's my thing. Do you remember my response? I said, Marshall, I'm not the visionary you are. I said,
you go, I like the idea, but they'll never go for it.
I said, here's a couple things. One, I don't think I'm in. If you want to present it to impressions, I'm in. I said, one, they're not going to buy it. Two, they're not going to pay us to do it. And three, if they did, who would come?
Yeah. Well, guess what? Alan was wrong.
Unreal. So if you want to do something, just ask me. I'm right there on board with you. Not a clue.
Yeah. So we had our thing. It went great. We had a lot of fun. And then we did it in Long Beach, and then we did it in Atlantic City.
No.
And then
we didn't do it in Atlantic
because
City.
of COVID.
Yeah. So it was the weirdest thing, because that first show, it's like, okay, I got a seminar, and they go, people are going, so what's it about? Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. I don't need to bring my computer. I don't need to bring anything. I have no slides. I felt naked.
Yeah. And that was the fun part.
No, it wasn't.
That was fun, right?
Yeah, it was.
And we're going to out of that. Right? And so anyway, COVID happened, and then we decided to just on a whim, let's just do it on Facebook. And that was a big, giant disaster. And then I asked.
And we did it on Facebook. We did it at Friday at noon, because
that's when our thing was.
That's when our seminar was supposed to be at Atlantic City.
Yeah. And then it didn't work out. It was awful. And in fact, a lot of our attempts with this have been awful, because we don't really know what we're doing. And then and then I reached out to Aaron Montgomery. I go, what do you guys use for two regular guys?
Yep.
And he told me StreamYard. And then I signed up, and then our next episode was on this platform, and we've been using it ever since. So
yep.
Anyway,
They just changed platforms again. I don't know what they're using.
yeah, well, this is the end of using StreamYard because we're going to use Zoom next time. So
That's fine. So
anyway, so we wanted to just kind of start off the show just with that story.
Marshall, none of us knew it was going to go 200. And what are we at? 220.
I don't even know. I lost count. And a lot.
223 you're at now.
Almost 5 years now.
Yeah. So anyway, so let's say hello to some folks that are watching. So Todd's here.
Hey, Todd.
Todd's here. And Brian, you look festive in the hat. Charles is here. Happy Friday one last time.
Mexico. Hey, Charles.
T-Town T-shirt says nice hat. Brain. I guess he can't spell, but
yeah.
So there you go. I have that problem too. A little dyslexia on the keyboard, right?
Who is T-Town Shirts? I don't know. Do you guys know them?
Nope. But they're watching. Hey, congratulations.
Brian, do you know them?
So T-Town is he's in a mastermind group with Todd, Fat Dad.
Yeah,
and, he does apparel decorating and tinting out of is it Cleveland, Ohio? He's out of Ohio. I can't remember if it's Cleveland or Cincinnati.
Yeah.
What's his first name?
Tim.
Tim, make sure you tell us where you're from.
Yeah. And then William's here. Hey, y'all.
William?
Yeah. So anyway, so that's the scoop. And so today what we want to do is go through some things real quick. And first off, Alan and I want to let everybody know this isn't goodbye. You're still gonna see us, right? But this is just the end of this version of what we're doing. And so this version, of course, is the live show, right? And if you've ever done anything live, it's quite the challenge because there's technology problems, there's internet issues, there is, the time it takes to show up consistently every single week because your life is in chaos, not to mention I've been out of town. Alan's been in the Philippines. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's gone on over the years. And then plus we've done our share of trying to do this live somewhere in a hotel room, in a trade show, all of that stuff. And sometimes stuff doesn't work, right? But most of the time it did, right? But so we're morphing into just doing it as recorded version. We're still going to be having conversations with people because, frankly, that was the best part, I think, of the show. And then we don't know what we're going to call it. Probably won't be Q&A, but it'll be a lot of fun. And so look for that probably the beginning of the year. So anyway.
That's our goal.
Yeah. Well, that's our goal. We don't know, right? And so we have a lot of work to do because we're going to be throwing out the stuff that we don't like and putting in the stuff that we want to try. And then we're going to roll it out and then off to the races, right? So, Alan, what did I miss? Anything about that?
No, I think we've talked. We're going to keep it with some industry. We're going to try to pull some people outside of the industry, get a different perspectives, and we have some guests that we want to do that we think could be some real cool conversations.
Yeah, and it'll be fun because I think this show is really dedicated to kind of like our ecosphere, right? But we want to bring in other people, and it'll still be relevant to everybody, but it'll just be different, right? That's kind of the idea. So, and then Todd says, the time it takes to do a live show, people thinks it's just the hour, but so much more time behind the scenes.
100%.
That's truth right there, right? So, all right. So, Richard and Brian, let's give you the stage for a minute. So, Richard, what did you like the best about what we're doing? What was your favorite show? Tell us a story.
There's no question that my favorite show, and the one that I recommended the most, the one that I scraped the transcript of, was the show with the leasing agent that Alan grew up with, basically.
Dave Harding.
Say his name again.
David Harding from DCA
You'd think that
Finance.
I'd be able to you remember that, but I remember the DCA part. So there was so much beefy information in the middle about there were like 11 different ways that you would approach leasing and financing equipment. And if anything, I would want to lease from them just because he knew and he explained so well. I considered that to be the most valuable show that you've done.
And
Wow.
that was
I wouldn't
just
think that
was
ever.
about
That's
a month ago.
Just a month ago, yes.
Yeah. And you know what? He got in depth on stuff and kind of blew up. I mean, we have all seen stuff about, hey, finance with 179 and everything. And he really unpacked that of what it is, what it isn't, what maybe you should look at, maybe you shouldn't. He talked about cash flow. It was really not the leasing, and it's not even leasing anymore. It's almost all finance, sales point.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Bufka, what do you think?
My favorite show was Michelle Gaza, because it just, you talked about a whole different version.
Do we
of
have Michelle on?
screenwriting and what different thing. And that was not Michelle. It was dang it. Who was the other gentleman? He did the poster printing.
Poster print. Oh,
Andy
Andy McDougall.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had the wrong name in my head. Yes.
Yeah, we
I
did not.
can't wait to tell Andy. I'm talking to Andy later today. I can't wait to talk to Andy and say that he was mistaken for Michelle.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll take that compliment. He's
Yeah,
still in Mexico. He was doing a big thing in Mexico.
he was
He's
doing
still in
flights
Mexico.
back to Mexico. Yeah. And you know what? He said Michelle Kazan. I'm going, we had Kazan and I forgot that? How could I forget that?
You were asleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's great. So what did you appreciate about that, Brian?
Just hearing a different perspective of screen printing and of decorating of stuff. Like we talk about screen printing of T-shirts and embroidery and stuff like that, but just having the different perspective of how he thought about things, I thought it was very interesting. He was a whole different version of what we talk about regularly. So that was my favorite thing. So
Yeah, Andy does a great job too. And I don't know, that was a while ago, a couple of years ago we had him on. And he's so versed in the electronics industry. He's known as a master poster printer, but he can do textile. And most people don't realize he actually works with indigenous people in Canada. We call them American Indians, and he said that's an American term. No, it's indigenous. At Watch A Studios, where he's training them to start businesses all over rural Canada, which most of Canada is rural. And so Andy does a great job. Such a great guy.
Yeah. I love talking to him, because he's really funny. So,
Hilarious.
Very interesting guy and a good dude to have a beer with, So
He's a cheesy guy. He got the Parmesan Award.
he did, right? And he was so appreciative of that, by the way. So all right. And so Alan, what about you? What was your favorite?
Yeah. And the ones that come to mind, like my favorite one is still when we put together, and I was nervous too about it when we had Peter Walsh from M&R, John Potter from MHM?
John Potter, right.
And
Ross Hunter
from Rock on.
Right.
All three of them at the same time talking. And I thought that was incredible as they're talking about machines and industry and trying to look into the future. That was like the best put together. We worked at it, everybody played nice. It was incredible. And that was my favorite.
Yeah. So I predict we're going to do more stuff like that.
Yeah. I think that would be great. We talked. I wanted to have Plastisol Ink guys on. I wanted to have 3-in-1 guys on. But man, we need to have multiple DTF people on. And
so we wanted, and we I think we'll be doing new stuff like that, and just have a really great conversation about things, right? So, so for me, that was a really great episode, but I tell you, one of the things that I really liked was when we had a crowd of people. Like, for example, we had our Shirt Lab New Orleans. We had that room at the hotel, and we just had everybody that was hanging out in the lobby get on the show, right? And that was a lot of fun. And that was an occasion where the actual traveling equipment actually worked because we had so many challenges with getting the stuff to actually work. We had failures at trade shows, like throughout our career, trying to get this thing to work to the point where it's just not worth the aggravation.
The Fort Worth disaster.
But that one actually worked. And so that was a lot of fun because I felt like, my AV librarian card actually, I got a hole punch on that one just to get that one going. But anyway, one of the things that we really appreciated over the years, I think, was a lot of the comments that we got, a lot of the discussion points, and that's what we're going to miss about doing the live show. But I'll tell you what, the lion's share of our viewers were all people who watched the show later, and I think that was really the reason we pushed to do recording, just because we know that we have like right now we got just a handful of people watching, but we had hundreds if not thousands of people watch later on, and so that's what has really pushed us into the direction that we're going in, because right now everybody's printing a shirt or embroidering something. They're not spending time watching this, they're trying to make money, right? And so we appreciate that.
We loved when we would have other manufacturers, other suppliers that would jump on the show. Rob Coleman from NASDAQ would come out and said, we did have Casa member jump in one time, and it shocked us all.
Yeah, of course.
And like, oh my gosh, do we genuflect and bow right now? Or,
when Frank Sinatra shows up in Vegas, everybody pays attention, right? So,
yeah, absolutely. When we would have international people jump on, that was incredible.
So, all right. So I think let's pivot a little bit. I know it's your favorite word, Alan, but I think that
we can do it now. It wasn't during COVID.
So let's kind of like one last time. We'll talk to Brian and Richard here because we have them on. Like we're just almost right there to 2025, right? How do you guys see next year? How do you guys see where the industry is going? What do you guys think is going to be the really sticky thing that maybe people need to pay attention to? So we'll start with you, Brian. What is your opinion about that? Because you pay attention to a lot of this stuff.
I try. I think smaller numbers. I think that's what's going to be the big thing moving forward. What's it? Mark Coudray says the moving to one, or one of you guys says that.
The unit of one.
The unit of one, and I think. And
Brian,
I think
you need to move closer to your microphone.
We already see that is how much fewer shirts can we make, but still get the better deal, and things like that. So, because we work with a lot of schools, I think we're up to like 20 schools now that we're working with, and so it's what can we do to not have any waste? What can we do to not the schools? That's what our customers want, and then the online shopping, like it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So being able to build the stores for our schools and the things like that. And we've got once we do them for schools, we have other dance studios and karate places that are reaching out that want to do the same thing. So I see that as just growing even more than people. I know everybody thinks it's going to grow, but I think it's going to grow even more than what people realize. So I think that's the big thing that I see.
So
ETF
do you
has
feel
changed the world for so much stuff, that adds to that puzzle of how much less we're printing for as much as we can.
Yeah. So Brian, lean into your microphone a little bit. Do you feel that for you and your business, do you feel that there are tools out there like ChatGPT, for example, that you're not quite understanding and using yet, but you want to harness the power of these tools to help you, and you're looking for information about that stuff? What do you feel is out there that's really kind of like blurry, and you're looking for more more info to bring in and help you with?
Um,
Whoa.
nope. Did I get way loud?
Oh yeah.
Sorry about that. So we do use a little bit of Midjourney and stuff like that, but I don't know if it's my ignorance of it. And I watch videos, I read newsletters and stuff like that. But I see that that's more important because we're getting more of the Canva artwork from the schools. We're getting more of that kind of stuff where they're designing it themselves. And so knowing how to deal with that artwork that, is coming out, and they're doing more AI stuff in those programs. So understanding how to deal with that is a big piece of my puzzle.
I tell you something that I've been working with lately is there's a program called Kittl, Kittl,
Yep.
and it's got a vectorizer tool. You can put AI in it. You can build your own templates or whatever. And I've been playing around with that just to see how much faster that is than using traditional Illustrator, Photoshop type of stuff. Just to play, right? And I think taking time out, and I'm not doing it every day, but taking time out to learn something new, I think really helps you through some of this change. And because you have to be willing to make these mistakes, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I'm doing right now with that, right? How can I use it? What can I do it for? Whatever. That's what I'm playing with right now. Are you doing similar things with your business, Brian?
Yes, totally. It feels like every day spending an hour or something like that trying to figure out Kittl or Cuddle or Midjourney or any of these programs, Adobe Express, trying to see how we can use these things. There was a gentleman in my shop the other day. We do stuff. He owns a distillery, and he's like, I just want to make whiskey. I don't want to know how to make QR codes and UPC codes and everything. And I'm like, you can't just ignore the rest of the stuff. And so we're constantly dealing with that stuff. And I'm in a couple other groups, and that's a constant conversation in those other groups of, and just what's out there, what's different. We have a Discord server with one of the other groups that I'm in, and everybody just throws things in there constantly. And it's like, I can't look at everything, but we have to look at stuff and see what's new, see what's changing. We have to stay on top of it a little bit. We can't be ignorant of it either.
Right.
And it's not just on the art side. I was watching a video. So, one of the hardest programs for me to use as a business guy is Excel. I hate it. I don't enjoy it. I'm not good with it. I saw a video of there is an AI version that will do Excel. You don't have to do sums. You don't have to do formulations. You don't have to do anything. I'm like, holy smoke. I could do that.
And are you?
I just saw it last night. Just saw it last night. So
you can do that with ChatGPT. Like, I can take and tell it, I have this spreadsheet on my Google Drive, and I can put the link to it off of my Google Drive and say, go in there and tell me what my numbers are, who my biggest customer was, what's that.
Right.
So there's so much that we can do with that stuff. And that learning it is the hardest part. Like, you made the comment about that, Marshall, about you just got to sit down and play with it. Okay, when do we have time to sit down and play with it? I got a laser right there. I got a die sub printer right there. I got 2 screen printers in the back and a Roland. Like, when does it happen?
When does it happen? When it happens is for you is when you schedule time, 30 minutes, right? While you're eating a sandwich. That's when I read my books, when I'm eating a sandwich, right?
Yep.
And you just spend time, and now the weather's so nice here, right? My back patio calls, right? Sit outside in the sun and eat a sandwich, right? So,
Richard, this is where we start hating Marshall right now, correct?
Yeah, because it's not 95 degrees every day or whatever.
No.
My friend who lives in Henderson tells me.
Oh, right now it's, let me look. It's 61.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in Michigan, it's like in the 40s and raining.
So anyway, so what I'm saying is you got to carve out time. And if you don't carve out time to put new ideas in your brain, what you'll find is you'll be behind, right? And
that goes to what we were talking about before the show started, Marshall, of people not showing up or people showing up later to
Yeah.
these kinds of things. You know, we were talking about a gentleman that's doing a training and like the 5 people that show up every time.
Yeah.
Like we have to take that time. You know, that's why people charge minuscule amounts, it feels like, for these groups and things like that. But it's, you know, so that you paid into it, so you will actually show up and you will actually learn from it.
Right.
That's a huge piece to the puzzle.
Right.
is carving that out.
Right. Hey, I want to get Richard in here, but we want to say hi to some folks real quick. Ray's watching and looks like he's driving somewhere. Good seeing you, buddy. Tim says, I always forgot I have that to help me out. I guess we're talking about AI.
Exactly. Well, he's talking about ChatGPT. I saw that come up. Sometimes we forget those tools are available.
Yeah, and then Carson asks, when it comes to selling, do you think it's been to watch a tree grow or a knee grow? What's that? Oh, I see. He's being a racist. Okay, great. So let's get that out of there.
Yeah, exactly.
I fell for that. Sorry.
Yeah, I did too. I didn't even catch that until you just said it.
So we'll just block that guy.
Yeah.
Apologize to everybody for my stupidity. Sam
Yeah,
said good afternoon. Right. So
Sam from Multicraft. Hey Sam, how you doing?
Anyway, so shit.
Marshall's all flustered.
I feel stupid.
You know what?
You're reading. You're reading.
It's live.
Okay. I love it live.
That's the problem with going live is the
Exactly.
trolls can take over. So anyway,
this goes to the stuff. These are real problems. And one of the things I loved about doing this show, and I told Marshall, I think we kind of hit it. I saw a thing on YouTube of why guys like Joe Rogan and Vaughn and all those guys are so good at what they do on podcasts. They said because it's a conversation around a kitchen table almost.
Yeah, right.
And that's what this is. We can put out ideas there. We're going, here's the hard part. I have 80,000 things to do. And when do I make time to do that? Carson's right. I forget that I have that available on there. And there's so much information, out there. It's like drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
You're right.
So-
I tell you what, that's what I have the hardest part with is what part do you listen to? Which part do you not listen to? There's so much out there.
Yeah.
So you can get caught up in just learning all day long and never do anything too.
Yeah.
So
What do you think, Mr. Greaves? Look, here it comes.
You kids complaining about Canva haven't had enough experience with clients coming in and bringing you their logo on a business card and saying, yeah, here's my art. Blow that up to 12 inches. So I say that not to embarrass my friend Brian, but to say that 40 years ago it was business cards. And then we learned about Photoshop. And now there are miracle things like Canva. And so these are strictly the hurdles. And you either embrace the clients that are trying to help instead of condemning them, because I can't tell you how many people I grumbled about, because half of art seminars in the early 1980s, I used to do seminars in which you'd say, where can we get cut art to photograph? Where can we get better logos of the Allstate insurance logo or the Pepsi logo? Where can we get the color references? Because there was no internet back then. So the idea that I love that everyone has adapted, but the world has changed to how we sell. And I want everybody to not be so obsessed with their decoration method. The snobs, like me, that believe in screen printing, the rest of you are all amateurs with your digital Control P and it all comes out perfectly. No, the idea that every technology has its learning curve, and that's our real duty. And every experience that your customer brings you and you give to the customer. And as whoever it was that invented the phrase that you've got baby whales and baby minnows and baby fish. And the baby minnows grow up to be minnows. And the baby fish grow up to be a little bit bigger. But the baby whales grow up to be whales. And who are you going to grow with? And we spend a tremendous amount of time feeding and nurturing dead end clients. Now, what's great about DTF is that there is the place for the commodity people to be, because it eliminates screen making. And those of you that know me from my days back in 1985 as one of the original stretch gangs, I am one of the people that was Johnny Appleseed to teach the world what Mr. Newman taught us, that higher tension works. Now it's kind of fait accompli, everybody knows.
Yeah.
Or
I
people
like
don't-
how Richard flexed his muscles saying that.
Stretch
The only
gang.
Stretching.
Talking about that.
Stretching.
Original stretch gang. And my distaste for direct emulsion, even though I worked for Lawson and for Yolano, I was a product manager at Yolano. And every person that I had to talk to on the phone, which I loved answering the phones because I knew I could help someone. I wanted to be that customer service guy. And that's who I think everybody needs to turn themselves into. They call up, every customer that calls you needs help. And you're there to help them. Even if you help them get off your porch and send them someplace else, you can do it. Say, get off my lawn, you kids. Where's the
cane?
my
Come on.
cane?
Where's your
Yeah.
cane, Richard?
Shit. Here it is.
It's
Get off my lawn. The idea of embracing everybody that comes in, maybe they are going to be a minnow. But with DTF, you can still help people like that.
With
And
UPF, you can make money on minnows.
Exactamo. Exact.
right.
Now, and you don't have to buy the equipment yourself because, as I've said in seminars for 40 years, screen printers are a dime a dozen.
Yep.
Sales customers are not. And
Yep.
salespeople are not. Because I can get anybody, I can get Lon Winters to print my stuff if I needed stuff. I used to be able to say I could get Greg Kitson because I sent so many people to Greg Kitson when he was still in business. So I know lots of screen printers. Some of them are in Missouri. Over there, troublemaker here.
We know one.
Right. But there's the screen printers that we can trust, and we can get them to print that stuff. Shirts. Oh man, the choices that we have in shirts. It does turn into a sales project and a business leadership project. That what is our goal? What are we going to? Because the decoration is just the thing. It's not what really sells. It's not really the experience. The experience is what the people say when they put on that shirt.
Yeah.
And if it's a uniform, there's lots of people that say, hey, I really like the shirts they give us at work. Versus, who gives a darn? I wear 2 shirts a day because I work in a pizza shop. And so I launder 20 shirts a week because they get dirty and hot. Okay. So that's a utilitarian thing. But for all the people that are buying an experience, they're commemorating a memory. Let me quick again tell the story. The 200th anniversary of the Eiffel Tower.
Yep.
No, I didn't want one of those shirts. And I regret it every time I think of it. So I punish myself every time I tell you guys that there's probably something in your life that you skipped out on or whatever, that memory. That's what you're selling. Sell the experience, the romance, the gentleness. I was on a call 2 days ago with a banker.
Mm.
It was a conference call because one of my clients is overseas and I'm helping them deal with a very difficult product. And I'm telling you, I get shivers just thinking of it now. This banker was the best human being I've ever heard on a telephone. A banker, assassins of hope. I was just amazed. And when we were finished, I called that guy back and I said, that was the best customer experience I've had in 40 years on the telephone.
Mm.
He was just so helpful. And believe you me, my client was being a real pain in the ass. I was embarrassed for the banker. And it was screwing around stuff. So
Right.
the
Just
whole
climbing
idea,
Poland.
what is the best customer experience you've had in Detroit? It's the Mike Kuhn tire store.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, it says it's 2-car garage with no lights on in it. Really? This is the place? You came in, you thought you were on top of the world. 3 guys jump on your car. That and this banker are my favorite things of the last 20 years. Marshall?
Great. Hey, so let's got some comments. I want to get to before we get too far. Ray said that he had a Roman meal bread truck, brought us a bread bag to blow up for a 4-foot by 10-foot truck graphic in 1990. We drank a lot back then. He still does now.
Well, and you have to remember that was, here it is. You've got to enlarge this. It's a lot of camera work. It's a lot of film work. Oh my gosh. And yeah.
And Jerry says good morning several times. And
Jerry. She's in Todd's
Ray
group.
says long live screen tension, and I can beat capillary film with direct emulsion.
Oh, great. An argument.
Yeah. Right. You can beat capillary film with direct emulsion. How long does it take? And how many years have you done it? And yes, you can teach people to do it. Whereas I can teach little Jennifer, 6 years old, and she can make a stencil.
I think Jennifer's grown up by now. You've been saying Jennifer's 6 years old for years. She's at least 20.
I get a new Jennifer every year.
Exactly.
And don't punish yourself, Richard. Let us do that for you.
That's why I'm here.
Jerry noticed the hat change.
Let the sarcasm begin.
Yep.
And then Sean said, boys. Good seeing you, Sean.
So to grow on Richard's point there, he talked about, DTF and screen printing. I don't say screen printing anymore. I say we decorate the shirts. I tell people we're apparel decorators, except for embroidery. That's the only thing that I say differently. But for the rest of everything else, I just say we're decorating your shirt, because that way I can DTF it. That way I could DTG it, which I would never do. But that's a whole nother world. I could screen print it, so we could do heat transfer vinyl.
Yeah,
we can do whatever. And so I've walked away from saying the word screen printing in the building.
Yep. And I think that's great, because you are no longer a screen printing. You are an apparel decorator.
Yeah. And the memory that Richard talked about. It's not about how we printed it. Yeah.
Well, I remember we talked about Mr. Kitson, and man, Greg has been a great supporter of this show too. He's retired. He's been on here. We love him.
2 or 3 times at least.
Yeah. He's the one I first heard going, when you're talking to a client, the question is, do you want this person to wear that shirt when they're washing the car or out to dinner?
Experience.
That's a good book.
Oh, Experience Economy. Mm-hmm. Nice. So it's all about that. He said nobody needs
taking notes, Richard.
Yeah, nobody needs another T-shirt.
Yeah. So here's something I think that everybody, I don't know, needs to understand, is that even though AI feels new, and this is kind of what Richard was saying, we've always had to adapt and change to the technology growth.
Yep.
Right? Why did I get into this industry? Is because way back when I was working my way through architecture school, designing things by hand, making camera readies for the stack camera with blue line. I would use a proportion wheel. I would use letter set, rub down letters to type out the thing, the letter, and I need that 163.7% larger, and would strip it in with wax. And then the Mac was invented.
Yep.
It changed my world, and I quit architecture school, and I entered the T-shirt mafia right then and there, and I've never been able to get out. Okay. And now we live in an age where we have a new tool, AI, right? That's going to help us sell. It's going to help us write. It's going to help us create. And the people who are used to the old way, right? They're the ones complaining that suddenly everything has changed. We can't write, we can't create, we can't think. And of course, all of that's true. You're not doing it. You're giving the power to somebody else.
Right.
But you still have to know to use the tool. right? So when you went from doing it by hand to using freehand, which later Illustrator or Photoshop, you're not doing it by hand anymore. You're using the tools. You still had to learn how to use the tool. Right now, that's where we are with AI, right? Any type of AI, right? How we use the tool to help us push things through for a faster and better result, right? It better's in quotation, right? It's just the ends to the means, right? And so we have to take time to use this stuff to learn how to do it, to make millions of mistakes, because that's where the learning comes in. Just like learning anything, learning how to be a carpenter, you're going to really mess up lots of wood with a saw until you learn to do it properly. You know.
But Marshall, to that point, like you talk about on your Mid-Journey stuff, like how many you have to do to get to the piece of artwork. AI still isn't perfect. It doesn't. You don't just speak into it and God falls out of it. You have to work at it. Be even as good as it is today versus how it was last year.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
it's so much difference.
Let me tell you, right now, this exact moment is the worst version of AI you will use.
Yep.
And tomorrow,
tomorrow will be better
out there right now. Okay, because guess what? In a month or a year or 10 years, you're not even going to believe what's coming out.
Yep.
Right? It's going to be able to pull thoughts out of your head or whatever, right? You won't have to do anything, right? Who knows, right?
But it's still just a tool like Illustrator is or Photoshop is. There you go, Jerry. There it is. Yeah.
AI changes quicker than any other tool. AI changes quicker than a 4-year-old in a candy shop with $1.
Yep.
You know. And I love it. I love it's so interesting, right? And don't get me started on Mid-Journey because I'll fill up the next 20 minutes about it. But you know, oh, thanks, Tim. All right, so my idiot brother's in here, looking good. It's a lock. FSU can't lose this weekend. Oh, yes, they can, and we will.
I love when Marshall's family would log in. I loved when your wife called you out.
Oh, she's watching probably. Yeah. So,
but it wasn't live. But she called you out. Remember for what?
Yeah, for talking over top of you because
I loved it.
I can't wait for you to shut up so I can get my point out. Anyway, so all right, so this industry is moving to the unit of one. We're all about DTF. We're all, and people are still using. I was at a shop last week. They had 12 Brother DTX Pros cranking.
Yep.
Major volume. Okay. One person for every 4 machines. And they had 3 dryer belts going that didn't stop. And let me tell you, I think, there's room for everything, right? It's just what we have to do is we have to really just think about what do we want? How are we doing it? And how are we removing the steps? How are we making a process? How are we making it the most efficient, cost-effective way of doing it? That's a lot of work, right? And there's tools out there for that.
Yeah.
Right. And why was I there? I was there to see Stahl's Fulfill engine kick everybody's ass. And let me tell you, it does it. It is so amazing. If you haven't looked into that, you should. I'm a believer. I saw it working, right? And what I like about it is because I'm a process guy, right? Richard, process, right? If it's one of these things where it's set up so there's only one choice. A worker can't pick. There's only one choice for what I need to do right now. That's it. And if you don't do that choice, you do it wrong, right? So I think that's one of the most remarkable things about it. It is just it's eliminated a lot of the human I'm going to be an idiot part of it. Can you still screw it up? I'm sure you can, but it was really interesting to see. So
keep it simple, sailor.
Huh?
It is.
What's that, Brian?
Keep it simple, sailor.
Yeah,
Well, I use the word stupid, but
that's what we say. Keep it simple, stupid.
So,
Yeah.
sailor, soldier, stupid.
Yeah.
They're all intertwinable at times.
Yeah.
right. Well, you're a Navy guy, so you say sailor.
Well,
Yep.
I think too, when we're talking about the show and everything and looking in the future, one of the other things we're talking about DTF, and we all know, I'm like Richard, I am a screen print technician guy first, especially in that screen and frame thing. I was trained by great people. My first roller frame that I ever saw and was trained on was by Richard Greaves.
Yeah,
And
right.
I was 20 years old. But DTF is so intriguing. And I remember as it's coming out, we had Dr. Ray work on the show right after he got inducted in the academy, because we're at the academy meeting, he's inducted in. And if you guys don't know, go look him up. He's so intelligent. We're talking about DTF, and I met Richard, you were at the table with me, right?
Yes.
And all of a sudden he goes, the problem with DTF is that powder is so hazardous and it's flying all around. And Richard and I are eating, we're like, wait, what? And so he starts talking. I call Marshall over, we're talking, he's on the show. I am so glad that we are able to bring information like that to the industry that we just don't think about.
Yeah, right.
And now the machines, I was just talking to a client that just got their first DTF, they got a Mamaki, and I reminded them, make sure your ventilation is well. Make sure, and all the machines, at first, those machine powder was just loose. It was just everywhere. And now at least it's covered and stuff. But make sure when you're adding powder, you're shaking it off and stuff, that you are wearing a mask. You are not designed to inhale powder adhesive, and that's what it is.
Who wants to breathe glue? Raise your hand.
Yeah. So,
Well,
What
Scott
happened?
Fresner and I have debated. I mean, we've
Yeah.
promoted this problem since the earliest days.
yep.
When Scott was selling tons of that kind of powder and opening, just you do it in an open tray, and I say, don't not wear a mask.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
So I loved being able to break and bring information out to people like that. And it was so good because the client I was talking to today, just talking again, he goes, I forgot all about that. Just make sure you have masks and make it SOP that the people working in there have to wear them when they're working around the powder.
Right. Right.
Even though it's sealed, when it's running, coming through, there's going to be shake off. There's going to be adding and all that.
Yeah. So David says, hey,
David.
Sorry I'm late. And then he says, that was a long time ago, Alan.
Yeah, well, it's not as long as Richard, but it's getting there. I'm trying to catch him.
Yeah, right.
But you know what? Fun times. And, we have seen things change. And while the older you get, it's harder to do that. It's just part of the industry. Nothing has stayed the same.
So here's the thing to think about. Somebody starting a business right now, this is just the way we're doing it. They don't know any different.
100%.
They're coming in doing DTF, right? They're coming in doing online stores, right?
Yeah.
They're going to look at the complexity of screen printing and the screen room and emulsion and EOM and screen tension. All that is like, why would you ever do that?
why would you ever take process camera photographs either? There's a handful that you can do on one hand of people that are still doing that in the United States.
And they don't need to know until they start. What I'm finding too is some of the DTF people that start DTF, now those customers are starting to get bigger. And as their businesses are growing, they're going, and Brian, you're nodding. Have you seen this too? Well, now those jobs that were 15 pieces and it's an easy DTF on there, I have an order for 250. Not going to be DTF. It's going to be screen.
We call them cricket moms because that's where they all started at.
Yep.
And the cricket mom does 5 or 6 shirts for the administration at the school or the PTO at the school. And they're like, hey, that's great. Can you do a fundraiser for us? And we're going to sell it to the school. And now they're cutting vinyl or pressing shirts for 200, 300 shirts. And they're like, why? They do that once. And then they're like, yeah, I'm never doing that again. because I spent the entire night working on something.
Yeah.
And
Right.
And it's called scaling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now there's DTF. Rock's got their impress machine, and that puts the transfers on at several hundred an hour.
Yeah,
Puts
and
it
that's
on
a
and
little
takes
bit
it off
bigger
also,
investment.
right? Or
Yeah.
am I wrong on that? That it doesn't take it off also?
That supposedly that's coming out in January at Long Beach.
It's amazing.
So they've got the M&R Passport. If you've ever seen that,
Yep.
it's a little robot. And got the platen with cutouts, and the grippers come in and grab the shirt and then stretch it and then yank it off and they throw it on the belt. I don't know what they're going to be doing, but it's probably something like that.
So literally, you just got to put a shirt on, and it puts
It
the
does
DTF
everything
on there,
for you.
presses it, takes the DTF off, and takes the shirt off, and you
Yes.
never have to touch it again.
Yes.
I was watching it. It's going to be interesting as technology goes because some of the machine manufacturers industry are already
There you
oh
go.
nice. Yeah. Are already incorporating or being incorporated to add technology that may or may not be in an industry. I saw a video on a Mamaki machine that can print like larger items. And it's already set up. They said, should you need a robot arm to move stuff, whether it be there or anybody's, where it can now connect to that. And I thought, okay, this is where we're going.
Yeah. So Sean, the Rock, it's called Impress, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, right? And I'm sure they'll have it at the show, right?
Yeah.
But what'd you say, Brian?
Dave Eggers just commented also. It's the
Rock
Impress.
Impress.
You're
There
right.
you go. Right. I was right. How about that? Thanks for the confirmation.
Yeah.
And Dave would love to sell it to you. There you go.
Exactly.
Well, there's the thing: is how much does that cost versus pressing yourself? So you've got to scale to that. You're not
Well, here's what it's going to
walking in and doing that day one.
What does it cost? It costs a person.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
but when we're talking going from a Cricut Mom to an Impress, there's an in between where now we've got to have these printed, and that's where
it costs several people.
several people. Yeah.
Yeah, but as your ROI, here's the thing. I like the ROI to be about 18 months, right? So if you've got the volume and need this thing, you could easily say that's the 18-month ROI.
Yeah,
Right.
but if there again, we're going. There is a scale to that, but there's a scale in between there. Brian's customer comes. I know what Brian has in his shop. Impress is probably not going to fit there right now, but he can move that customer from okay. I'm not going to DTF 300 shirts. I will throw it on my press.
Well, as long as the design is applicable for screen printing, because
100%.
let me tell you, a lot of the beauty of digital is that you have a color palette of millions of colors.
100%. It's
okay, and then you're going to screen print that. Now, what do you got, Brian?
Right.
I have a 6-color, and I have a 4-color manual and a 6-color auto.
Yeah.
So he can also farm it out.
Down to screen printing, sometimes it's not going to work because of the complexity of the image.
But
So I'll tell you right now, we do a bunch of schools with, and it's fundraiser stuff for the bands, the choir, the FFA, stuff like that. We set it up as it's going to be screen printed. We assume we're going to print 100 of these shirts. But if we only sell 2, now we can DTF that also.
Yeah.
And so we go backwards with it instead of having all the colors and then figuring out we prepare that we're going to screen print this, but if we have to DTF. So I could see all of this working like that.
I think too, you got to remember it starts as a Cricut Mom. She's not doing a million colors on there. She's doing some. She's going up there. Now there are options. You can farm it out. You can still DTF it. You can have a bigger place DTF it. You can screen it yourself. You can have someone else do it. There is a ton of options out there. And that's what makes you a decorator.
Right. Well, we got to look at things through the lens of an entrepreneur, right?
100%.
That's where we should be. And I think, there's still some people. Like I talked to somebody last week who has been in this business for 30 years, and I mentioned something, and they go, "I'm not interested in doing that."
Yeah. What do we call that?
And by the way, it was about screen tension. And he
I
didn't
like
want to measure his screen tension because he's never measured screen tension. And
So-
I've got results without doing it.
Yep. So what do we call that, Marshall? Where do we put that?
Put that in the concrete head. Right?
No, don't confuse me with facts.
Yeah.
My mind is made up.
Whatever. I did not waste my time or my breath with this guy because he was not interested in learning. Right. So,
Gotta
Hit
love
him with the
Davis.
ruler. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to reach out and hit him
Yeah.
with the ruler. Yeah, thanks, Davis. I appreciate that. Yeah.
But on mine and Richard's side, when you work for a supplier, a manufacturer, majority of people like they can only help the ones that want to be helped.
yeah. So,
Yep.
Anyway, so we've got about 5 minutes left. And before we go today, I think we need to thank lots of people. So we need to thank people like Richard and Brian
Yep.
and all the other guests we've had. I don't know, 100 or more guests on the show. And we didn't prepare a list, but thank you. If you've been on the show as a guest, we really appreciate you. I think we also need to thank everybody who's watched, of course, commented, shared our show, got anything out of it. Hopefully you've learned something, or we just mildly pissed you off something, there was a result, right? And we also want to thank GSG because they were sponsoring the show for
A lot of years.
and we really appreciate that. And, they're such a great company and we just want to acknowledge them. Right.
You know what? Mark Granberry was awesome. When I first approached him, the owner of GSG, he was so great. The team was good. What about, remember when Mark Soldonic did the live printing and he wouldn't tell us what it was? It ended up being the printing of our Years and Eyes logo of us shirts.
Right.
That was cool stuff.
It is cool stuff. And so it's just, we really appreciate everybody. You guys made the show special and a lot of fun to do. And I want to also thank Alan for being such a great partner on this. I literally could not do it without him, obviously. And, and we've got a lot of fun that's going to be ahead of us. But, it's just one of these things where you fall into something, and we certainly fell into this, right? We didn't this show, I think, if anything, was a complete successful accident.
100%. 100%. And every day, no good or bad, we were going, I can't believe it's still going.
Yeah. Hold on. So,
Sean,
Brian,
you're taking my stuff here. What's up with that?
Okay, let's talk about Sean. A couple things about Sean.
Yeah.
One, loved when we got packages from people and we would open them online. And Sean was one of the first ones he sent to us. So thank you guys that sent gifts to us. Also, Sean, he's filling in for me a few years ago. I'm out of the country. And so mean you guys are to me.
Yeah.
Between Brian asking me about a podcast and Sean making fun of me as the co-host with the cutout
With the
Alan
big head.
face.
So Brian, please just get it out. I know you been wanting to do it the whole show.
Alan, when does this podcast start? When's the
We
next?
just told you
when's
it's
the
going to
first
be a
episode?
version of it's going to be with Marshall in January. We're shooting.
That's
So
great.
now you can bug him too about it. So,
Yeah.
you know what? And funniest thing, we've got to mention Peter Walsh from M&R.
Yes.
Peter is now retired from the industry. From what I hear, we love you, Peter. But what was the phrase, guys? Why does when we asked them live, why is the introduction of the Cobra, M&R Cobra press, why is the Cobra so quiet? And the answer is
Because the machine makes no noise.
doesn't make any noise with the Australian accent. It was classic.
Right. So Dave wants me to open the Amazon package live. I'm not going to. It's a calendar. I'll tell you right now what it is. William says, I've learned a ton from the show. Jerry says, thank you for all you've added to our businesses. Your time, you guys are the bestest. Thank you, Jerry. Cindy was with a customer. Is this the last show? Yes, Cindy, it is the last show.
The last live show.
Last live show. We'll be doing something new. And then when does Alan's podcast start up? I'll probably look for that in January. Dave, the one behind Marshall now, not doing it. Joe, I appreciate all you guys for taking the time to help so much. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure meeting you too.
Dave says because it's a copy of The Rock. No, it's not the copy of The Rock. So anyway, we'll give you guys the last word. So Brian, last thoughts before we jump off?
I'm sad. This is ending on Fridays because I looked forward to watching you guys and listening to you guys and learning from you guys on Fridays. So no matter what you guys talked about, I learned something every week. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with my Fridays now. I'm gonna have to figure something else out.
Well, once we have our other show, you can just watch that one. You just won't be long.
You have time to learn some of the stuff now.
Actually, go do some of it. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Thanks, Alan.
Right. What about you, Mr. Greaves?
I think that watching live was part of the accountability of my support of the both of you. That people could see I was here, people could see I'm commenting, because we could only type in. Granted, I've been a guest on several times, and we can hear it live. But the fact that we were here supporting you, I think that gives you some legs, and it's all the people that are still watching, not live because they're doing real work instead of office work like I am, where I can have something running at the same time or while I'm driving a car. So
Right.
I love that I was able to support you by trying to be here live for most of the 220 times.
How many times have we called on? I know, Marshall, you have called on Richard last minute for Shirt Lab stuff, and we have on this
He's
like literally 20 minutes before because there's an issue.
Yeah.
And Richard, thank you so much.
He's the best.
He goes, hold on, let me cancel and change some things. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
And
That's why Tom and I and Allie made him that jacket.
Yeah.
Was it 2 years ago, right? So
It's downstairs. Ultra cool. Ultra cool.
You know what, Marshall? I also love
his face. You should have seen his face when we gave him that jacket. You could have knocked him over with a feather.
It's great.
Absolutely.
And for those who don't know, Richard really helps us out a lot for a lot of things, and he's always there, and he's always supportive, and he's always got the best advice. And so at our Shirt Lab Mastermind dinner in Long Beach, we made, because his company that he kind of jokingly runs is the Screen Police. We made him a police style, like FBI SWAT team jacket with the Screen Police on it, right? And by the way, it's a real police jacket. So, we just thought that was kind of a cool thing to do. So we were happy to do that. So.
And Marshall, we got to know. Thank you for dragging your son on. Jack.
He's not ever coming on.
You made him because he started on YouTube doing stuff and talk about it. Right. And brought him on, and we met him at Shirt Lab. So, Jack, I know you're not listening, but thank you for allowing us that.
He's a true kid. He doesn't listen to anything. So,
and you know what? For everybody, I know for weeks, when I had some major health problems. Thank you so much for everybody for the support, for Richard jumping in, and thank you so much.
Okay.
So.
All right, well, everyone. Well, hey, we'll miss you live, but we'll see you as a recording, and of course. You can always find us on the Shirt Lab open office hours, which are every single week. So sign up for Shirt Lab. If you liked what we did, we do that all the time, every week at the same thing.
Check out Shirt Lab Summit coming up.
Shirt Labs. Oh, yeah, I want to share that real quick. So hold on, I wasn't prepared.
I was very proud to be on the show with Brian. Thanks for choosing him.
Thanks.
Thanks,
so,
Richard.
Shirt Lab Summit's going on right now. Please sign up. It's 100% free, and it features this whole thing is about profit, so how you can make more profit. And we've got a giant host of some awesome people on here. And so this top row is all sales. This row is all marketing. This row is all production. Then we have type of customer, and we end up with type of work. And we've got some really excellent answers. We've asked questions to everybody, and everybody's answering the same question. But what was really unique is their take on whatever the topic was. So you can watch the first 5 videos for free. There's a little upgrade if you want to watch all 15, but you can also get, I took all the answers, took the transcriptions, and I made a 47-page how to profit guide with, because I'm partners with Allie, an action checklist on how to make the profit, right? And you just go to Shirt Lab Summit, and we don't want to forget all of our sponsors who so generously help us with providing us with the financial capital to do stuff like this. So we really appreciate that, because this, I don't know if you can tell, this is 3 months of work putting this together, right? So we'd love for everybody to go and sign up. Shirt Lab Summit, lots of fun. And we have lots of people that are right now watching all those videos. So we really, really appreciate that. Anyway, that's the scoop. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys later, and we'll see you at our trade show or Shirt Lab or whatever soon.
Always call us, email us. We're still available. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.